Here is a review of the top 50 rules posted on Fintwit and my interpretations. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is a little back to basics review of trading rules. A person of interest on Twitter posted some rules. His name is Nick Schmidt. I wanted to talk about them. Again, 50 rules seems like a lot, but we'll run through them pretty quickly. But one of the things I wanted to do was I read his rules. I thought they were pretty legit, but a lot of times within trading systems and rules, there's no context. Without context, these rules feel very, arbitrary, and they're hard for people to really understand. And meaning, like, think of it as when you're a kid and your mom and dad say, please don't do this. Don't touch the stove. It's hot. Well, what does that mean? If you touch the stove, you're actually going to burn your skin, yada, yada, yada. That kind of stuff. Now, again, a lot of people in their minds might say, well, this seems rather trivial or might not be important, but it actually is, because until you know this stuff, and when I say know that you know, it's really hard to execute things in the line of fire. This is war. This is literally life or death trading action where you win or lose based on your actions. And what is wired into you is how you react and how you handle adversity, how you handle stress. And that's usually one of the top 5 things traders struggle with, is they cannot act on their instincts, meaning the right things to do. Like, they gamble, they overtrade, FOMO, they do all the wrong stuff, but they don't have the ability to control their emotions or have these rules in their brain where they don't do these things because, again, with a high probability, they end up being wrong. And a lot of people can't do that. It's like I always tell people, don't chase, don't chase, don't chase. And then they go, hey, I was looking at this trade you posted today on the SMH, buying Soxel near 13. They probably bought it this morning up at like 1340 going, oh, well, Dan thinks it's going higher. And it's like, no, it came back under 13 and we bought it this morning. Meta talked about this. Again, there's a lot of trades. Again, if you're new to the channel, check out my Twitter, stop by the Discord room. The link will be in the description below. There's so much to learn always. And as I tell people, until you know that you are just living in a veil of confidence that is misled. Meaning, think of it like a child or a teenager. They think they know what's going on, but they don't have the experience with the actual discipline and the rules of living a life to succeed. Like, it's that we all struggle with it. We all start in the same place, literally. I mean, when I started trading, my first 3 or 5 years were very good, but then very down. And why? Well, I got lucky. I didn't think I thought I was smart, but I actually was lucky. And that's usually the problem with beginner traders. They get lucky, they make a bunch of money, they think they're actually good at trading. Problem is they just were lucky. All right, let's get into it. Thanks, Nick Schmidt, again, for putting this together. Follow him if you'd like. I just thought his rules were something that, sometimes it's easy to go through and review these kind of things, but I read the first few of them and I said, you know what, let's go through these and see if this helps put these in context. 1, you'll gain more confidence from your losses. You cut short rather than your big wins. Absolutely. Why is that? Well, keep in mind, as we always say, small losses and let your winners run, or small losses and know that in time, if you do the right things, you will win more. And so those wins will outdo all of your losses. Well, think about why cutting your losses can build confidence versus wins, because wins are wins. You can review that and you did that well. It's the why of the losses that become like this perpetual understanding of things that you just will not do. And because if the market is a continuous repeating pattern mechanism, you start realizing, well, if I do that, that's wrong. All right, don't do that anymore. I know that sounds easy, but that's the reality of it. It's like life, Hey, if you eat a cheeseburger and it gives you diarrhea, you're not going to eat it anymore. And that's kind of what happened in my family. So when I had a gallbladder issue, and it's like, well, you got to stop eating that stuff. I mean, it's just really that easy. You need to have a support system in place to help you get through tough times. This is an underrated rule because, again, this is why I love the Discord room. This is why I love helping people. This is why I do this, because your support system is going to help you through the tough times. There's going to be times when you're wrong. There's going to be times when the markets don't make sense. And if you have a support system that says, hey, stick to your rules, stick to your disciplines, do what you always do that's correct, and know the probabilities will get in a line, will go in your favor, it's really easy to come back from a loss. And again, keep in mind, we try to keep the losses small, but there's always going to be times where you can't control what's going to happen. They might be a big loss. How big? Well, again, it really depends on how you act on it. Have realistic expectations and don't expect to get rich quickly. Again, getting rich quickly does not really prove that you knew how to get rich and trading quickly from experience. It was probably luck. Think of it the same thing. Beginner's luck. You go in the casino, you win $1,000 playing blackjack. You have no clue what you're doing, but you played the game and you won, and you're like, yeah, I got it. Your fear of losing money is ironically causing you to make bad decisions and lose more money. This one is an underrated rule again. Because again, if you fear losing money, scared money can't make money. Like, you have to assume how to learn how to make risk, take risk. Think about it. If you're scared of losing money, you're not acting rationally. Again, that's always going to be the case. That's not something that will ever be removed from your brain. Remember, there are always opportunities to lose. It's just, how do you win? If you don't know how to win, then your fear of losing becomes greater. Think about that, right? Like, think about people, how they doubt themselves. I can't do this because, well, all right, well, then they believe they can't. That's what they do, and that fear drives them to underperform. It's pretty logical. Be willing to take advice from others who are more experienced than you, but ultimately make your own decisions. I say this every time in the room. Please follow me if you like, but the goal is for you to make your own decisions. Why, how, time of the year, all the things that we talk about that give us this market edge, you need to own that so you can make the decisions confidently. So why? You don't lose money and you're not scared. The more pressure you put on yourself to make money in the market, the more difficult it becomes to actually make money. Well, this is very obvious if you know me and we talk about this. Again, if you put pressure on yourself, what are you doing? You're clouding your own vision and judgment. You have to do what the market is doing. As we say, you flow like water. We go with the market, you know? Or if you're swing trading, you have to be patient. You know, there's a lot of little things that this reference refers to. And again, if you have to make money, you're going to act more than you need to. And what do we say? The more often you trade, the more likely you are going to be wrong, right? Why? Because you can't always be right. I mean, you guys know, I clearly know what I'm doing in this, but look at how patient I try to be. I don't try to act all the time. There's not always a trade out there. There's not always something that seems very obvious. Once you learn how to become picky like that, it's going to change everything. Don't be critical of your trading mistakes. We all make them. Just learn and move on. I say that all the time. You're going to make mistakes. That's part of the game. Limit them and then also learn from them. That's always the key. Again, think about in life. You don't become great at something by being perfect. It's because you learn from the iron being forged in fire of problems and mistakes. The best traders have internal confidence. They don't listen to the noise around them. Instead, they focus on themselves and what they control. This one, I hope you guys can recognize that with me and the channel. I do not listen to the noise around me. I don't care. I look for evidence in the charts. I read the headlines just to read them, but I interpret them how the market maker does. Again, I don't listen and I don't take Fintwit advice. All of you know, I don't take anyone's advice. Why? Because again, I need to internalize all of this in my own brain and have the confidence to act based on what I think is going to happen. Again, we are all just perceiving the market. Your perception is your perceptions. You want to laser up your perceptions to be what? What is the market maker going to do? How are they going to screw over those people? How do they take the most amount of money from people? How does the market react seasonally? How does the market act during OPEX? How does it act during ABC? Again, those are the tools we're trying to teach you so that you can act on that. The most important thing in trading is not being right. It's making money. Always. Again, if being right means you're wrong, or the most important trading is not being right. If being right means you hold a loser, then of course, that's wrong. I mean, it's just so simple sometimes how obvious that is, but people have the desire more to be right than to use their stops. If you stop relying on someone else's trades, you will be mind-blown by how fast you progress and how much you're capable by yourself. I disagree with this because, again, I relied on others to teach me how to trade, and it gave me more intuition about why they did things so that I could step my game up. Most trading errors can be minimized by sizing down. Well, that's of course. Again, if you are newer and you don't have the understanding of the market, it's a probability game. We talk about this all the time. Do not leverage up your bets the less confident you are. That just seems ridiculous. I mean, again, like, think about it obviously from that perspective as we say it, but that's the reality. You know, you don't go out there and put a bunch of money on the line to do anything if you're not confident in it. But why do people do it in trading? I don't get it. Most trading errors can be minimized by downsizing. Be patient and don't rush into trade just because you're excited. Here, example, this morning, it is, what is it, July 12th. We talked about AM drop, pop, and then watch, and then it pulled back. And then we got into trades. We got into Meta, got into Roblox on discounts, Soxel. Why? Be patient. We didn't rush into the opening bars. What do I always tell people? They line up the buys and the sells in the first hour. Well, if we think it's turnaround Tuesday and it pops and it's OPEX, we got to be patient. We should assume that it's going to pull back at some point. Then from there, then we act. We do not chase. Never try to make up lost ground all at once. This is one of the things that people do, is that when they are in a hole and they're digging, they don't put the shovel down. They don't level down. And this is what I tell people all the time. Say you have been in a hole, you're losing. Your goal is not to up your bets to win it all back at once. It's to lower them to start getting the confidence to win and then executing those trades, because then it becomes just a matter of decimal points. If you know how to win, you will make money. If you are gambling, you're going to continue to, you're going to see, you can still win in gambling. Let's not argue that, but you're more likely to lose more or not keep your profits. Focus on process and not the outcome of each individual trade. I always say this all the time. Are you trading well? That's literally all I ask myself. Am I following my plans? Am I using my stops? Am I being patient? Am I letting the trades come to me? I know that sounds really crazy, but that's reality what it is. But are you trading well? Like, do you have in your journal what trading well for you is? Because again, for me, it's not chasing. I hate chasing because I feel like I always get penalized. Because again, it's emotional based. The market is leading me to do something that I shouldn't be. And then what are some of the other ones? Having stops, minimizing my loss. Like, if I was wrong, could I identify how, like, as quickly as possible that I was wrong? So I didn't need to wait for a $2 stop. I could just stop out immediately. That to me is a big win. A lot of people struggle with that. Even I do. One undisciplined trade can do months of progress. We've talked about that. If you don't have the discipline to use stops and admit you can be wrong, you keep making money in trading, and then you level up your bets and you make one bad trade, you're right back where you started. No matter how confident you are when you place a trade, remember that the outcome will always be random. I would agree, but disagree. Again, we are putting probabilities in our favor, but the thing you need to think about is just ultimately, confidence or not, you have a plan, you have stops. Because that's the one thing. We can't predict the news. We can't predict the reaction to data. We can't predict when a politician or someone in another country or when something happens somewhere else and how it's going to affect our trades. Focus on the long-term goals and don't get discouraged by short-term setbacks. Again, we are running this like a business. There will be short-term setbacks. That's part of trading. Okay? You can't assume always win. Again, I tell people my goal is to win 80 to 90% of the time, which people don't understand how that can be, but that's the reality. Like, I have focused my ability to be patient and put my plans together so that I do win that. And honestly, it all starts with the trend, right? If we're on the right trend, it's not that hard. But again, if you don't have the trend and you're fighting against it and the trends change, that's where it can be hard. Again, short-term setbacks happen all the time, okay? It's just how do you handle them in your long-term goals as a business? Sometimes the best thing to do is nothing at all. This is what I agree with. People are like, oh, hey, you're going to trade on Monday? What do you got going? I did nothing. I did one trade and stopped out, let it go. Because again, why? I know it's option expiration, ChopX, it's Monday. Please just leave it alone. Unless you can learn to control your losses, you'll never become a successful trader. This is obvious. Control your losses, minimize them, know how to, again, the best traders that I know out there sometimes aren't even that great at trading, meaning that they don't know how to pick that many great winners. They just know how to lose really well. And if you think about it, the law of averages, as long as your losses are always smaller than your gains, you will win. It's kind of crazy. Always trade in direction of the trend. I can argue against this. It's just, again, it depends on what your time frames are. We counter trend scalp and do things all the time because, again, we know that oversold, overbought conditions can lead to what? Counter trends. It's just, again, don't be big. I always tell people, swing trade big because you have the direction. Day trade small if it's against the trend. Trading is not about being right all the time. It's about making money in the long run. The key is focusing on managing your risk so you actually keep what you make. Again, yes, managing risk. Pick your poison. Like, you're running this business. What are you going to do? What's working? How do you do it? How do you execute? Don't pick tops or bottom. Well, sorry, Nick. We do that all the time because I will keep the secret sauce into the Discord room. But yes, we do pick bottoms and tops because we have risk management and we know the repeating patterns. I apologize, you don't know how to do that, my friend. You probably do, actually, but again, you don't advise people on it. I understand. All of my biggest losses came after my biggest wins. Always say humble arrogance is a quick way to lose money. What have we always said? When you win big, level down, layer down. Again, do not continue to raise your bets. Why? Because that could happen. I mean, think about it. Put your money in your pocket. You're playing blackjack. You just won $2,000. Put that $2,000 in your pocket. Layer down your bets to $15. Again, the key to winning and trading is varying bets, right? Same thing in any gambling game. If you're always leveraging all in, all it takes is one loss. But if you know how to vary your bets based on confidence and probabilities, it literally changes the game. The one way to become a good trader is to first be a bad trader. Yep, that happens to everybody. Your trading will improve faster if you focus on one thing at a time. Don't study everything and try to remember it all. Well, I think this comes with a caveat. Focus on one thing at a time. Well, keep in mind, are you focused on the wrong thing? I always say this to people, like, oh, you're focused on RSI and MACD and stochastics and all this bullshit that doesn't help you trade. Well, then, you're focused on one thing that's wrong. That's the hardest part of trading is if you're a beginner, you don't even know what's right or what's wrong. Again, if you stop by the Discord when you're part of the channel, you know how simple we try to make this. Don't study everything and then try to remember it all. No, try to study everything that is important. This is the difference between Nick and I. Like, if you know what's important and you can isolate it in your trading, it fits your personality, study it intensely. Focus on multiple facets of how to execute it. Do not, again, get there as fast as you can. This is what's, again, I don't agree with everything he's saying, but I think his intention is well. But keep in mind, if you focus on one thing in trading isn't a one layer, one variable mechanism. It's multiple layers. So you have to understand them all and you have to know how to use them all together. Think of it as like you're going camping. You need to know how to make, how to get water. You need to know how to create, sleeping arrangements. You know how to keep your stuff from getting attacked by animals. I know that's maybe a stupid example. It's on the fly, but think about it. Like, there's multiple layers of things. Like, there's nothing just one topic, one layer of trading, okay? Just keep that in mind. Like, you got to know everything. Don't get attached to your positions. Well, again, that's why you have stops. Think of it again. I tell people all the time, like, it's just paper. I don't get attached to anything. Well, if you would have held Tesla, you would have made this. Guess what? That's not my style to hold forever because, again, I have been burned more times than not holding a stock forever because picking one that will outperform, like, say, an Amazon, Tesla, Apple, there's 999,000 that haven't. So, probability based, I can't really hold anything forever because I've seen more times than not that they turn into big losses. Competition comes, the market adapts, a million things. It's important to enjoy the process. If you don't, you won't stick to it long enough to be successful. Again, I think this is something I would agree with, but caveat with, if you're not winning, you're probably not going to enjoy the process. So one of those things that I say to people, learn how to win, then the process becomes easier to ingrain. Don't overcomplicate things. Keep simple trading. Yeah, keep trading simple. I agree. Less is more. I say that all the time. Less is absolute more. Discipline is more important than intelligence. Without it, the market will eventually wipe you out. Again, everyone's intelligent. Everyone's best intention is to do things correctly, right? Just keep in mind that your intelligence isn't necessarily flawless. That's easy, right? Focus on risk management and protecting your capital. I say this all the time. You have to. Without bullets to fire, there is no game to hunt. If you lose all your money, you cannot make it back. Again, be cognizant of your losses. You can make money, right? But also you have to focus on your ability to not lose it. Like, it's the double-edged sword. How to do that? Well, again, a lot of the stuff we talk about daily in the Discord room. Be humble. You're not as smart as you think you are. It just depends how confident you are. I mean, if I'm talking to Michael Jordan about basketball, he's not really humble. But if I'm trying to play against him, I'm not the smart one. Now, again, people all the time are like, oh, you kind of have an ego. You think you know what's going on all the time, blah, blah. Just pretend that I've been trading for 20 years, which I have, and I understand a lot of these things. I've made every mistake you've made 100 times. That's why I love to teach people, because, again, you can layer up and level up your game very quickly from learning from other people's mistakes. Again, you can pay to get somebody to, like, guide you, but to actually understand, like, someone share with you their knowledge, there's always a cost. It's just whether it's, time, energy, effort, money, whatever. There's no holy grail in trading. I would argue there are holy-ish grails, things at high probabilities. Yes, anything that works 100% of the time, there's none of that. There's nothing. Some things look great. Again, we isolate probabilities. There is holy grails, but there's not necessarily certainty with 100%. That makes sense, right? The market is irrational. It is random at times. It does whatever it's going to do. Nobody knows when the market is going to do next, and you don't need to. Again, Nick, I disagree. You have to understand the market from the mechanisms of the market and also know what? One thing only. The market is trying to take the most amount of money from the most amount of people, so it will genuinely lead to certain directional action. I disagree. The only thing you control is your risk. Of course, you are the one hitting enter to enter a trade and hitting enter or clicking on it to close a trade. You control your risk. Well, as I tell people this all the time, varying your bets is key. Your probability-based trading, right? If your probabilities are strong, you should be more aggressive. If they're weak, you probably shouldn't do it, actually, versus do less. Sometimes that's the hardest part is, hey, well, I think this is a good trade, but I'm not that confident. I'll just do it small. Sometimes it's better just to do nothing. An edge in trading is simply having a higher probability of being right than wrong. Yes, obviously, that's what we do. You need to be able to handle losses and setbacks naturally. Again, everybody loses. It's mentally, as I say this all the time, pretend you're Tom Brady. He throws a pass, it's a shitty pass. Does he focus on that, or does he go to try to win the damn game? And again, people either love or hate Brady. I think his mindset is what is actually the most impressive thing ever, because in these games, high pressure situations, he always comes out on top. It seems like. Why? I mean, he makes mistakes. It's just he knows how to level up when the pressure's on, and that's what great traders do. All right? Focus on your trading. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Agreed. You have to do what you have to do. But again, if I'm your mentor, if someone's teaching you, you kind of want to know why they do things and how and what that leads to. You need to have a clear head to make the best trading decisions. I say that every night. That's why I don't drink. I go to sleep at regular hours. I try to wake up fresh and prepared. I want to have my mind prepared for what I expect. This is not winging it. This is not gambling on a level of complete randomness. Again, I'm isolating in my mind probabilities. What is the odds that this is going to happen? How aggressive should I be? When will this happen? When do I need to get in? When do I get out? All these things seem obvious. But if you don't have a clear head and you're emotional, this is what sometimes like something happens in your life that might not even be related. You're not going to have a clear head. And you're going to make bad decisions. I've done it. Things happen in my life and I'm not happy and I'm, not focused and there's like things swirling around. It affects my trading. Why? I need to make money because of this happened. Or I feel, again, your emotions can lead you in a path of trading where you literally, it's like people are like, I'm on a diet and then they binge eat. And it's like, well, why did that happen? Why? The emotions of things, right? Think about it. They went into a place in their mind where they lost their focus. And it was based on usually something bad. Happens at work, bad with their family, bad with their kids. Things aren't going well in your life and your head is not clear. Layer out of everything or sell and start over and come back later. You got to have a focused head. I mean, we are literally taking on billion-dollar computers and algorithms to take money out of the market. Just like they do, we have to be on top of our game every day. Focus on making good trading decisions. The money will come. That's obvious. Yes. Play the probabilities. You don't need to trade every day. In fact, you shouldn't. I say this all the time. You should not be trading all day, every day, all the time. Again, gets exponentially harder to try to predict every move. It's much easier to predict less moves. Keep that in mind. You need to be able to admit when you're wrong and move on. That's obvious. Like, don't have an ego. There's times where I traded, I think, TLT earlier in the year, and it just looked right, and it went wrong. Gone, moved on. And again, came back to it later, but we moved on temporarily. Take some time off from trading periodically to recharge and refocus. I say this all the time. I am going to hopefully take some of August off because it's only going to get harder. The summer trading is absolutely brutal and choppy. Most traders don't develop the necessary discipline until they have felt the pain. That's how it worked for me. I think everybody learns that way. It's the same reason why rules, like your parents are like, don't touch the burner, it's hot. You touch it, you get burned, you never touch it again. That's usually how it works, but this is, again, the goal of this channel is to learn from others' mistakes. As people say, or the saying that I love is, smart guy learns from his mistake, the wise man learns from others, right? Like that's that's just life. You know, learn from others' mistakes if you can. You don't have to make them. Your tuition for trading will only get more expensive. Most traders don't develop the necessary diamonds until they felt. Yep. Keep learning, growing as a trader. There's always room for improvement. This is why I always say, please have a journal. If you're learning and growing as a trader, you cannot remember everything all the time. You need to have a journal. You need to have a reference for which you can read this stuff. Okay. Like there's just 50 rules here. Can you remember all 50? No, you gotta write it down, or write down what's the most important stuff and focus on it and read it daily. Think about it, process it. You know, our brains obviously don't process everything all at once. Focus on quality over quantity. It's better to make a few good trades than a bunch of bad ones. Well, obviously, if you don't know the probabilities, then yeah, you probably do more quantity over quality, and that's where hopefully our edge is very obvious. Like, we're focused on quality trades. Like, your goal is to do the same. Like, you want to focus on high probability winning trades, not throwing darts and hoping that you win. Because again, that is gambling. That will incite more gambling. Then you'll gamble more and you lose more. It's just a cycle. It's just a never-ending cycle of getting your ass kicked if you trade too much. And that's why I always hate, I don't hate. I always laugh at the day traders that come into the Discord room, and I'm like, how are you living a happy life by trading all day trying to scrape pennies? Or scraping dollars here left and right by being more of a swing trade / patient setup trader. Way more lucrative with less time spent. If you're hesitating when it's time to execute, you haven't completely accepted that your outcome of the trade is out of your control. You can do everything right and still lose money. Again, are you probability based? I think this is like the difference between 99.9% of basic traders is that they don't even think about the probabilities of trading. They're just like right or wrong, black or white. I hope people are starting to see, like, this is the difference between all of them and us. We're trying to like run the probabilities in our head. Don't try to predict the future. Focus on what's happening right now in front of you. I disagree with this. We are always trying to predict the future. We are trying to get in front of the move, to anticipate the move so that we can make bigger gains. Disagree. You have to go through bad trades to get the good ones. Well, of course, you have to lose to win. Trading is an art that you spend your whole life perfecting. Now, I love this rule because you guys know people call me Bob Ross. Like, I paint the picture for a trade. Well, why? Trading is an art. There's no hard and fast rules. There's no holy grail. It's probabilities. And so if you think of it as like an art where you have to constantly learn and adapt and try to understand the markets, well, what happens? You start to realize that it's more flowy. It's more artist. Like, that's why engineers and really alpha people, because again, I'm naturally alpha too. Like, you want the hard rule. You want it to be this way every time, and it has to go how I want it to go. That kind of shit is what honestly led me to fail off and on constantly. And when I say fail, like, take big steps forward and then take them back, because I'm like, all right, I figured this out. This is how it always goes. Boom, boom, boom. No. This is what I think is going to happen. No. That hard and fast thinking is not an art. That's trying to put your ego over what's going to happen. Again, as I say, your ego is not your amigo. Lastly, I think it's important to study the great traders instead of only trading great strategies. Again, I really don't think there's a lot of great traders or strategies in the public. Keep in mind, Fintwit, social media, these are places where great traders do not live and post. So again, Nick Schmidt might be an amazing guy and intentions are well. I don't trust anybody. Literally, I just don't. And you may have found me and you go, well, why would I trust you? You shouldn't. You should literally backtest everything I'm saying. You should study it if you really care. At this point, again, the great traders are not public. The best algorithms, the best money spends hundreds, tens of millions of dollars on trading edges. Do you think they're going to give it out for free? No. Again, I try to make it simple so you don't have to do that. Because again, you and I will never want that kind of, well, again, maybe you could build an algorithm. I'm not going to say never. I just want things to be simple so that I can execute and flow like water. If that's your goal, is a probability-based trader, telling you you've gotten this far, stop by the Discord room, subscribe. You're going to learn a ton. It's going to take time, but ultimately you see how the markets really are, how they're wired. It's to take money. It's not to give you money. If someone tells you to go into the casino and you're going to always win, that's the irony of it. They build more casinos everywhere because there's so many freaking losers. It's the same thing in trading. The average trader comes in and lasts 1 to 3 years, and they lose all of their money 1 to 3 times, which is ironic. Again, they'll start with 25 grand, blow it, come back in. The goal of this channel is for, again, I'm not very good with helping the beginners because, again, that's so far in the past for me. I don't want to focus on that because, again, everyone starts in the same place. You need to start your own trading, paper trading, figure it out. But the people who are on the cusp of greatness, they don't realize how close they are until someone actually tells them, this is what you're doing wrong. Or you identify what you're doing wrong and you just don't do it anymore. It's really that simple. Again, there's probably 100 of those things that it could be, but this is why we talk about this stuff. This is why we constantly remind ourselves our humility and try to understand what the market is doing and what mechanisms are at play. Because keep in mind, the market's always trying to take yours, take your money, trying to take my money, whatever. If you're thinking from the perspective of this is all about me, and the market's going to do what I want it to do, you're guaranteed to lose. I've been there. We've all been there. So hope this helps. Again, I appreciate you guys. Love everyone. I will talk to you and see you in the Discord room. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.